Sarah, Tristan, Jack. We live just off of Laredo Road.
We are also coming to appeal to you as our city's leaders. You comprise some of the best of our city. We have had delicious pizza at one of your restaurants. Another has delivered two of our babies, and another's father has mentored our oldest son. Tonight, the Fair Practices Ordinance is set for its second vote.
We cannot support this change to our city's ordinances. We are Christians under the lordship of Jesus Christ. Jesus was asked, which is the greatest commandment? He replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment.
Love is not passive, it is sacrificial and strong, heroic. I cannot tell my children I love them and not care for and protect them. The Bible is very clear that God made us either male or female. This is not a preference or choice. Our gender was designed and designated by God himself.
God has also given us free will. I cannot force a person to act the way I think they should or believe as I do. So while everyone is free to decide their own beliefs, there must be some guidelines for a city and a country to function well. The Fair Practices Ordinance, if passed tonight, will force my family to go against our strongly held religious principles or face retribution. Asked to deny our conscience and the guidelines God gave us in the Bible.
Love must tell the truth. We cannot go against the guidelines set by God, our creator and sustainer, and not expect judgment. God clearly teaches that sex is designed between one man and one woman. The Bible tells us flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body.
What a heartbreak that the CDC reports, quote, at this time, data suggests that gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men make up the majority of the cases in the current monkeypox outbreak.
I cannot affirm that which will hurt my family and friends, my fellow Brownsville residents. Asking me to do so infringes on my rights as an American and as a Christian. I cannot in love affirm that which will hurt and destroy those I love.
Freedom and love have always been in and under the constraints of law. Practices Ordinance places into law that which is unhealthy, unnatural, ungodly, and will not go unpunished by a holy God. I want the best for you all and for the town that I've lived in for almost 40 years. We're raising our 8 beautiful children in the Rio Grande Valley. This will hurt our town, our people, and our children. Please vote no.
Thank you so much. Your time is up. Next public comment is Erasmo Castro.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Mayor Mendez and City Commissioners. Thank you. My concern today has to do with something that I think that most individuals here in the city of Brownsville can relate to, and that is the increase in regards to the amounts of money that we are paying through PUB. And, all we are asking for is a little bit of answers in regards to what the hell is going on. One of the things that we were promised is that in these upcoming months, we would be paying substantially less every month in regards to our PUB bill. That has not been the case. There's been a lot of talk in regards to a lot of audits coming out, and they've been promised. And I would remind every single sitting city commissioner and our mayor that part of their campaign promises when they were running for office and taking office was to give the community answers in regards to what happened with Tenasca. I know that in the considerations, there is a measure in regards to property tax increase. And I'd like for us to get a little bit of reasoning behind why our taxes are going to be increased in a time where, we haven't gotten any answers in regards to what happened to the Tenasca money, where we're at. Audits have been promised. We've been promised audit back since June, and it got pushed to July, and now maybe October. And again, all we want is answers. A lot of the different circumstances that we are all experiencing, and not just in the city of Brownsville, but throughout the country, has forced a lot of individuals to have to make choices in regards to what to pay. One of the comments that I've made publicly and regularly is that some of us here in the city of Brownsville, will be able to pay, the increased rates that we've been seeing. I'm paying $300 more a month than I did last year and the previous year in a small little office space, and I'll be able to pay these monies. I think the greatest issue that should be before us is what about those individuals that cannot afford that extra $200-300, and individuals have seen an increase in the amounts of 50-60%. So we'd like for the city commission and the mayor of the city of Brownsville, to start speaking up a little bit more, be a little bit more open in regards to what the city of Brownsville is actually doing to alleviate the issue. We'd also like to know, where are these audits and what happened to those $135 million that were, collected because of Tenasca, and what was done with that money exactly. So my prayer tonight, and I will say that it is a prayer of almost every citizen in the city of Brownsville, is a little bit of relief and a lot of answers. Thank you.
Next, we have Mary Barba. Mary? Okay, next we have Connie Lewis, but I have here that does not wish to address the commission.
Okay.
Then we have Susan Rubalcaba.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you for the time. My name is Susan Rubalcaba, and I'm here to speak regarding the hot tax funds portion of the annual budget. I would first like to commend the commissioners who tabled the item last commissioners meeting due to the concerns. I would also like to state the public has those same concerns. As elected officials, it is your duty and obligation to serve the people of Brownsville and not your own interest. Unfortunately, it appears that several elected officials have forgotten this, and some never had that intention from day one. As for the hot tax funds, I have a real concern regarding the application process, the award process, the tracking, and the auditing of the organizations that apply and are granted these funds. The state of Texas has specific and stringent laws in place for the disbursement, usage, and tracking. This is not a free-for-all pocketbook of funds to all who apply. Although it seems that the city of Brownsville has had a real issue vetting these organizations and holding their feet to the fire. I noticed that the city of Brownsville's application, as compared to other cities across Texas, is general and doesn't ask the things like what events are planned to bring overnight tourists. It doesn't ask how many tourists they expect, or if they have talked to local hotels for special rates and blocked those rooms. It doesn't ask for attachments such as event budgets, proposed marketing plans, doesn't require proof of economic impact from previous events, and there is no post-event report that I can see to track the usage of the funds. A simple farmer's market or 2-hour art show, although great for the citizens of Brownsville, does not meet the guidelines of, quote, heads and beds. These organizations must show how their event will directly enhance and promote tourism, convention, and hotel industry in the city. The director of marketing at the last commission meeting for Mitte Cultural District could not even answer the commission's questions regarding the usage of the hot tax funds. This from an organization requesting $60,000 of hot tax funds, 1 month after receiving $75,000 in an MOU with the city. Some of these organizations are sitting on millions in the bank, and when it's broken down, absolutely do not meet the criteria for hot tax funds. Yet here we are handing over taxpayers' dollars to the same organizations meeting after meeting. I would also like to mention there are several conflicts of interest being ignored when sitting commissioners who also are board members of these organizations are applying or assisting with the application process, voting on agenda items, and serving on the hot tax fund audit team that audits this compliance. Some are paid members, which is a direct violation of Texas Government Code 171.009. The citizens of Brownsville are sick and tired of the mishandling of our tax dollars, lack of transparency when it comes to potential and actual conflicts of interest, and lack of accountability. You were voted to serve us, not the other way around.
Mayor Pro Tem, time is up. Next, we have Stacy Bilstein. Stacy Bilstein?
Okay, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm here regarding consent agenda item number 12, and I'm just going to jump into this. Looking through the ordinance, I have some concerns about the way this is laid out. On section 56.1, I don't know if you all have it in front of you, it starts on paragraph 1, it starts talking about Supreme Court decisions in recent years, but it doesn't specify what those Supreme Court rulings were. I think it's imperative that they space in this ordinance or any ordinance specify as to what the Supreme Court rulings are. And this is way too vague, and we need specifics to make sure for the public to know that the city is aligning with state and federal law. This is too broad. And if there were Supreme Court rulings, then what is the purpose of the city passing an ordinance saying that this is the land of the law? The Supreme Court has rulings. That is enough to say this is the land of the law. The city does not need to be passing ordinance saying this, you will be fined or prosecuted because you were found for discrimination. That is a huge concern. Section 56.5 talks about an administrator will be designated by the city manager. Who will be this, how will they designate this administrator? This administrator is going to investigate the complaints. And will this be a city employee? Will it be a current board member? Or will it be a public? Who is that person? It's imperative to know how they will be designated. Section 56.5 under exceptions, religious organizations. How will this be determined? If a person files a complaint for discrimination, does that business or a member of the public have to prove their religious organization, religious exemption? What are the requirements to prove that exemption? It doesn't specify anything like that, and that's very important. Under section 56.6, it doesn't state what state and federal laws also. That's for unlawful employment practices. As we all know, that's a different law. Under enforcement, section 56.12, it says that the administrator shall review the complaint and decide whether to accept or deny the complaint. How do they accept that? How do they deny it? What is the process? Will there be policies or the procedures? Will this administrator have training? How will they decide whether to accept or deny a complaint? That's very imperative. The public needs to know about these little details. This is not specific at all. Under investigation, 56.13, what kind of investigation will
Mayor Pro Tem, time is up.
Thank you very much.
Next item, we have work sessions. Item number 1, work session on airport finances and project updates.
This one,
We're tabling this item.
for the next meeting.
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
Is there a motion to table?
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion passes.
Next item, we have work session presentation from the Mitte Foundation.
That podium goes up also, Ray. There's a button to your right if you need it.
I think it'll be fine, thank you. Good evening. My name is Ray Chester. I'm an attorney from Austin, Texas. I've been representing the Mitte Foundation for many years. Over that time, I've come to greatly admire their charitable work and the strength of character of their board members and their organization. I thank you very much for this opportunity to address the commission and the public this evening. Because of the vicious attacks and innuendo that have been leveled against the foundation and members of this commission by an extremely vocal minority here in your fine city. Because I've been asked to keep my remarks brief, let me get right to the point. In January of this year, Daniel Molstad, an employee of the Brownsville Children's Museum, was arrested for possession and distribution of child pornography. It's hard for me to say. He recently pled guilty and is awaiting sentencing. This individual is the son of our executive director, Khalif Molstad.
These are the facts. They're terrible facts. I'm not here to dispute them, and I'm not here to defend them. But these facts have been twisted in a very unfair way to be used against the Mitte Foundation. And I am here to set the record straight on that. Number one, no one at the Mitte Foundation had anything to do or any influence with Daniel Molstad being hired at the Children's Museum. Not the executive director, not Commissioner De Los Santos, who's on our board, no one at the Mitte Foundation. The Mitte Foundation plays no role in the governance or operation of the Children's Museum. They're completely separate organizations. The only connection is that the museum is located in a building that carries the name the Roy F. and Joanne Cole Mitte Cultural Education Center, which was paid for in part by the Mitte Foundation back in 1999. Now, Mr. Molstad's punishment will be decided by a federal judge, and I'm sure justice will be served. But the Mitte Foundation had nothing to do with this, and they do not deserve to be vilified for the conduct of this person. Now, moving away from these unfounded accusations, let me just share some factual history with you. The Mitte Foundation was founded by Roy F. Mitte, who grew up right here in Brownsville. His family was poor, dirt poor, literally a dirt floor, one-room house. Mr. Mitte was fortunate enough to earn an athletic scholarship to what is now Texas State University. He served in combat in the Korean War and later became a successful and self-made businessman. Mr. Mitte wanted to share his success with his hometown of Brownsville. He wanted to enhance your local culture. He wanted to provide scholarship opportunities for young people who, like himself, needed a little help to achieve their goals. Mr. Mitte's contributions to Brownsville began in a concrete way in 1998 when he was asked to help renovate the Dean Porter Park. He generously donated $3 million through the Mitte Foundation for that purpose. That began a series of contributions and grants by the foundations to or for the benefit of the city of Brownsville that to this day total approximately $6.9 million. In return, the Mitte Foundation has asked for nothing. Could you go to the next slide, please? Unfortunately, Mr. Mitte died in 2007, but in recent years, the torch has been taken up by his grandson, R.J. Mitte. R.J., as you know, is an accomplished actor and celebrity, but what a lot of people don't know because of his modesty is that he spends over half his time on non-money-making activities. Not only is he the president of the board of the Mitte Foundation, but he's a celebrity ambassador for the United Cerebral Palsy Fund. He regularly speaks to thousands of students and young people on topics of diversity in the workplace, overcoming disabilities, and his anti-bullying message. R.J. Mitte has refocused and re-energized his grandfather's vision and commitment to the city of Brownsville, and grants under his stewardship have actually exceeded those of the original Mr. Mitte. Now, I've been shown public statements where citizens of Brownsville have said things like the Mitte Foundation has stolen millions from the city. This is absurd. We have never received nor asked for 1 cent from the city of Brownsville, directly or indirectly. I've seen statements that the Mitte Foundation is buying up properties as an investment, or in other words, to profit by the city of Brownsville's growth. That's also absolutely untrue. We're a nonprofit organization. All of the properties that we bought to enhance the cultural district are going to be donated or granted to qualifying organizations. You have our word on that. I see that my time is coming to an end, so I would like to conclude my remarks with a question for the commission. These scandalous and unfounded attacks are affecting our relationship with the city. The question then becomes, does the city of Brownsville want the Mitte Foundation to weather these slanderous attacks and continue our charitable work here? Because we would like to. We would like to continue giving to Brownsville. But we would respectfully ask for some support from the commission just to set the record straight in the face of these attacks. So that's our question. I thank you for your attention. I welcome your feedback. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Are there any questions from the commission?
I will, thank you for giving the presentation. I'm not sure, seemed a lot of opinion, but, I'd like for you to clarify some things because I think it'll help a lot. Is Mitte Foundation board members are paid, correct?
I'm sorry, I'm having...
Mitte Foundation board members are paid, correct?
Yes, they are.
Okay, and you're a practicing attorney with good standing with the Texas State Bar, correct?
Am I an attorney in good standing with the state bar?
Correct.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so given that you have a city commissioner on the Mitte Foundation board getting paid, do you think it is ethical that it might create a problem visually, even if you have the best intentions, to then have this same city commissioner sitting on a board such as the Hot Tax board or these other boards?
Well, if the Mitte Foundation was receiving hot tax money, that might be an issue, but they're not. The money is going to the Mitte Cultural District, and that is a completely separate organization. The Cultural District was formed by the city of Brownsville, and then after it was already in existence, the city decided to call it the Mitte Cultural District to honor the generosity of Mr. Roy Mitte. The Mitte Cultural District is governed by a board of approximately 26 members, and the Mitte Foundation has 1 seat on that board. The Mitte Foundation doesn't get any money from the cultural district. They give the cultural district money, as does the city and many others. So to answer your question, no.
And I'd add to that, that there's no hot tax board that makes the decisions on what monies are gonna go to these entities that apply for hot tax monies. The decision belongs to the commission. And that's why at the commission level, I recuse myself from those votes. Otherwise, that would be a conflict. That would be a violation of state law. That's why I always step out of the room when those come up. Mr. Chester, other than the word of the foundation, do we have anything to corroborate that we absolutely had nothing to do with the hiring or firing, not just of the Children's Museum, but of any entities in the district? But of course, the Children's Museum is where the question is.
Yes, we have a written statement from the museum director stating exactly what I said tonight. The Mitte Foundation had absolutely zero input in the hiring of that individual.
And because of the questions about foundation and district, and I know even among our own staff here at the city, sometimes we hear the term Mitte Cultural Foundation. There's no cultural foundation. It's the Mitte Foundation or the cultural district. But it's important that people know what is the role of the Mitte Foundation as it pertains to the Mitte Cultural District.
Well, the Mitte Foundation is simply one of the donors to the cultural district. And they have one seat out of 26 members on the board. And that basically is the relationship.
And 8 of those other seats belong to the city of Brownsville.
I knocked off your remote, but it didn't have any batteries in it anyway, so.
You be careful, Monica might tackle you.
I think somebody set me up with a dummy remote here.
That'll be $49.99, sir.
Thank you,
Oh,
Pastor.
so much. Is there any other questions?
This is a workshop. Is there public input? No?
No, it's a workshop, man.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
It's
Excuse me, this is a workshop with the city commission and those slated to present, and in this case, it's the Mitte Foundation. If there's no other questions from the city commission, it's my recommendation that you go on to the next item.
Yes, the next item is consent agenda items.
I'll move to approve consent agenda items.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there a motion to do so?
Sorry, number 12.
Second.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Item passes. So item 12 is removed.
I'll move to approve all items except 12.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So item 12.
I'll move to approve item 12.
Second.
We have a motion. Is there a
There
second?
was a second from the mayor.
Oh,
Second by Mayor Mendez.
all right. There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion.
Oh, sorry, discussion.
So we heard the public comment about vagueness. And you as city attorney, how would you respond to that?
Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor, and all commissioners, our legal team worked extensively on this ordinance. We've ensured that to the furthest extent allowed by law, this does comply with state and federal law. I know that there have been comments related to, First Amendment rights in relation to religious exceptions. The application of this ordinance does not apply to religious organizations. Religious organizations is defined in definition 29. It's my legal opinion that this complies with state and federal law. We don't have any issues with it.
All right. So do I have a motion?
There was a motion and a second, just to see if there's any other discussion.
Is there any other discussion? No? Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All against? Motion passes.
Okay, next item, we have items for individual consideration. Item number 1, approval on second and final reading
on ordinance number 2022-1705 of the